It's time to start getting ready for our next group project, Oh So Delightful. Hey everyone, Cristin here, and we are going to start on our Oh So Delightful project. Before we can do that though, I'm going to prep it. It is totally optional to prep. You can do it, here's my doggy, you can do it each block, like cut as you go, that absolutely works, or you can do it ahead of time. Either way, I'm going to do it ahead of time just so that I'm all prepared and ready to show you how to do each block. But I will start every tutorial with, this is the blocks these are the fabrics we will need, here are the sizes, so you don't have to pre-prep if you don't want to. Totally up to you. So a couple of tips though. So this video I'm going to talk to you about prepping and preparing for this project. So for this one, this is the Oh So Delightful. There is a cutting guide in here, all right? There's cutting directions, and there's also these pages that show all of the fabrics and show you how to cut them to get maximum usage out of your fabrics. The only thing is that on the CD, which comes in this booklet, you have to have this booklet, all the designs are on that CD, and on that CD there's also a PDF, and on the PDF it has, I printed mine out, it has all of the cutting directions, so for all of the projects. So up to you. You could do it step by step, but if you're going to prep your fabrics, I recommend doing it off of this CD, and the reason is because then you're going to get full usage out of that fabric. If you were to do just the quilt, because we are going to start on the quilt first, I get that asked a lot. We are going to start with the main quilt first, and then we'll work on the other projects after we finish the quilt. But if you were to start with just the quilt and say that you use this fabric, one of the fabrics, and you cut it, well, if you're not using the cutting guide for the whole project, you may end up a little bit short. You probably would be okay, but not necessarily. And so I'm just doing it from the PDF that is in the booklet. And like I said, I printed mine off. You could do it straight from looking at your computer screen or your iPad or whatever. But this does have the cutting guide. It has all of the fabrics, but on this one, it has for each of the different projects listed all together by fabric. So that's my recommendation, is using this versus the one that's in the book, but either way will work for you. So one big thing that I want to recommend, if you're going to prep your fabrics, you want to get these packets. So I have them on every single video. Underneath every video, there is a link of these packets. And I always get asked, how many packets did I use? This one's a big one because there are 8 different projects. It's not just that one quilt. There's 8 different projects. So I actually used 43. I just finished making all my folders, and there's 43 for each of the blocks for each of the projects. So 43 total. So the one that I recommend that I'll put a link up here. It actually will go up there, I believe. That set comes with 35. So if you have 35 left over from your other projects, then that will work out really well for you. You could just do the quilt, and then as you finish out packets, you can start filling more packets. Whatever works for you. I have 43. I actually bought another set when we did Cup of Cheer, because Cup of Cheer was another one that had a lot of packets. So 43 is what I use. And I do have some left over because, like I said, I had 2 sets. So there is an affiliate link here. It helps support me if you purchase from the affiliate link. And they're really helpful. So there's also a box that is underneath the video. I will add the link underneath the video, and it just holds these packets really well. So, and there I just dropped a couple. So they fit in the box really well when you have that box, and it's just one that I found on Amazon that has exactly the right dimensions for using these packets. So so that's where I'm starting with, is just making the packets at this point. Next I'm going to start ironing on all of the fusible backing onto each of the fabrics, and then I'll start cutting. And the reason I start with the packets first is because once I start cutting them, I can right away put them in the right packets, and so it makes it a lot easier rather than trying to remember, well, which size was this one, where should this one go? So a couple questions I get asked: do I cut each fabric piece and each stabilizer piece, or do I just do the whole fabric? And I used to always do each one because there's usually a lot of leftover fabric and you may not use it. I mean, you can see I save all of my fabrics, so I won't have a problem with using them. This whole set that you can't even see actually right there, this whole set is just Kimberbell fabrics, so you will use them. And so either way, whatever works for you. It is less expensive if you just put the fusible backing on the piece that you're going to use right then, but it's quite a time savings if you do the entire thing and then just cut. So either way, whatever works for you. I do the whole piece now. It's just a faster process, but if you're going to do each one, then you could make your stabilizer a tiny bit smaller, especially on any fabrics that are similar in color and shade to your fusible backing, because then it'll make it easy to know which one is the side that has the stabilizer versus the side that is just fabric. So you can make it a tiny bit smaller and then you can see the edge around it. Either way, I am going to just do the whole fabric and cut them all. What are some other questions I get? So what I'm going to do is just do each process, and I'm going to write little notes. I always write a lot of notes in my book, and I will add notes and add to the video. I will do a batting cut document with all the batting cuts so that you can do that. I will also do the embellishments that are already in there. I will be cutting all of those. I put them all into the packet so that when I'm going to work on whatever packet, whatever block, I grab the packet and everything I need is in that packet. So, and then I also do for inner borders, outer borders, backing and binding, and then another one for embellishments that are for after the fact, so that I do put the embellishments in that packet for that block. Oh, it's snowing. But there's some that will always be at the end, like adding those pins, that will be the end. There's probably buttons that will be at the end. So I have an embellishment packet that's for after the quilt is done as well. So anyway, I've made my packets, feeling pretty productive. So now I'm going to start ironing, and it's kind of funny. So a lot of us, the process of prepping our fabrics takes a long time, and it's really pretty boring, but I've been so cold lately. I'm kind of excited to use my iron for a long time because it'll keep me warm. I've been freezing. So anyway, I'm looking forward to ironing my fabrics next. And again, if I come up with any little tidbits, or tips along the way, I will make sure to share. And real quick, this is the box that I have. I got this from Target ages ago, like literally probably 20 years ago, but I found one on Amazon that has the exact same dimensions, and it's clear so you can see inside of it. So I will add a link to that up here if you choose to get the box to hold your packets, so you can see it makes the packets nice. All right, so this is for my Red, White, and Bloom quilt, which we are also doing in between. We're doing Oh So Delightful. So you can see why I needed extra packets, because we've got 4 projects going on right now, but this is a big one. And Oh So Delightful is definitely a big one as well. So anyway, quick tip on the bin, and I will add a link underneath this video and up top. One other quick tip, I use blue tape. I used to use the Kimberbell tape, and you can see it leaves quite a bit of residue, whereas the blue tape just comes right off. And someone in our group posted a suggestion of folding back one edge on itself, and that makes it really easy to rip off. So I do that as well. So blue tape with a tiny little fold on it, and I use a Sharpie pen to be able to write which block it's for and the page number that I can find that block on. You probably don't need that information, but I use it a lot, so that's how I do mine. All right, so my next tip is to put your fabrics in order. As I mentioned, I'm using the one that is on the PDF, it's on the CD, and I am going through them this way. I heard someone say that they're in order if you keep them in order from the box, and mine were definitely not in any order from this direction or from the book. So, and they're all folded within each other as well. So I didn't really understand why they said that. So I'm putting them in order. I'm using the PDF guide and just going straight down in each one. I'm going to go through each of them for you. It's up to you. You can decipher what they are for yourselves, or I'm going to do my best to show you because some of them are very similar to others. So I'm just going to go ahead and go straight down this list for you, and I'm going to show each of them. So let me make a little space here, sorry. All right, so the first one, so like I said, I'm using the Complete Collection Materials list. It's on the PDF, and there's like 4 pages of them, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I'm just going to go through each of these for you. Keep them in order. There's a little number down at the bottom so that you can see what they are. So the very first one, it's called F1. And it is a silky solid, a cream silky solid. All right, there's no design to it. It's cream silky solid, and this is a fat 16th. That's the first one. The second one, let's see, do I have enough room to do this? All right, the next one is a teal silky solid. Teal silky solid. This is F2, and it is a fat 16th. All right, and number 3 is a gray silky solid. So this is one of the big ones I want to point out. There is a light gray and there is a light mint, and they are very similar. All right, so that's why I'm going to go through each one for you. So this is a light gray, very light gray silky solid. It's F3 and it is a fat 16th. All right. And number 4 is that mint silky solid. It's very, very light mint and very similar to that gray. So a little bit different. If you hold them up next to each other, you should be able to decipher which is which. They're both fat 16ths. This one is F4. All right, and then F5 is, yep, this one. So blue, it's a navy blue with a bunch of flowers on it. And this one is F5 and it's a fat 8th. All right, a fat 8th. So it helps to tell from the size too. So you can decipher which one is which. This is F5. And like I said, I'm just going through the whole order of them for you. All right, the next one is F6. It's a fat 1/4, and it is that same, but in a white version. All right, a white background with all those same flowers. And this one is F6, and it's a fat 1/4. All right, so it really helps if you put these all in order so that you know which ones that you're working with, and then just run down that list. It makes it easy in my opinion. You got to find what works for you, but that's my suggestion. All right, the next one is F7, and it also is a fat 1/4, but you can see that there's a little background design on this one. See in the background, there's a little bit of a design, whereas the other one was just white on the background. All right, so it's a little bit different. It's like a gray background with little starbursts or something behind all those flowers. And this again is a fat 1/4, and this is F7. All right. And then the next one. So this one is the navy blue version of that same one. And again, it's got, see the design in the background? The navy blue with the little starburst or something behind all those flowers. And this one is also a fat 1/4, and it's F8. F8, okay? And we are on to F9. And F9 is the pink version of that same one. See, can you see? There's a little starburst behind on that pink. You can't see it too well, but it's a pink one with the little starburst on it behind the flowers. And this one is F9, and it's a fat 8th, okay? And then we have F10. This one is 7/8 of a yard. and it is really cute. All right, it's kind of a grayish blue with a bunch of like pentagons, 2, 4, 6. I think that's pentagon that has 6 sides. I don't remember exactly from geometry days, but bluish grayish with all these flowers in the shapes. And there's a little background to it. It looks like dots on the background. Maybe it's those mini starbursts actually. But anyway, this one is 7/8 of a yard and it's number F10. All right, and when I'm telling you the numbers, these are the numbers that are just on that paper. All right. So F11 is that same design on yellow. It's got a yellow background to it. Probably hard to tell on here. And this is F11, and this one is a fat quarter. All right. And it, like I said, there's a lot of pink on it because that pentagon, I think it's a pentagon. It's either pentagon or hexagon, whichever 6-sided one it is, but that is in pink, and then the background is on yellow. All right, hard to tell on this video, I'm sure, and my not great lighting. But anyway, so that is F11, and it's a fat quarter. And then F12, this one is 1/3 of a yard. Now this one, I want to point out something. I thought I was missing, I think it was in this one. So this yellow stripes, we have it on here twice, and I thought I was missing one of them, and it turned out it was wrapped really tightly inside. I think it was inside this one. So if you think you're missing one, just look, make sure and open it all the way up. Open up all of your fabrics, because mine was hidden inside very tightly. All right, so this one, like I said, is F12. It is 1/3 of a yard, and it is blue, like a tealish blue with pinks and yellows. There isn't really a background to it. Maybe white, but mostly covered with flowers. All right, so in 1/3 of a yard, F12. And like I said, make sure and open up each one. If you think you're missing one, make sure to check on the inside. All right, and then this next one is a little one. This one is a blue background of that same fabric. It is definitely a dark blue background with all those flowers. It's a fat 16th. This is F13. F13. All right. And then F14 is the last one on this page. This one is a fat 16th. There's a couple of these too. All right, so make sure to keep them separated because they are different as far as the needs of them. So this one is the fat 16th, the smaller part of it. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, at the top of every page, it says what size each of these are: a fat 16th, a fat 1/8, fat quarter, and a fabric scrap. It does say what those are so that you can help determine what is what. So F14, it is a fat 16th, and it is a dark teal with blue flowers on it. Dark teal. It looks very blue in this video, but it's really kind of tealish to me. All right, so that is F14. That's the end of page 1. Now on page 2, and like I said, it says down at the bottom, it's that same fabric, the dark teal with navy blue flowers on it. This one is a 1/2 yard of it, 1/2 yard. All right, a big piece for this one, and it's F15. And then F16 is that same, but it's on pink, pink on pink. Look at how pretty that is. All right, and this one is F16, and it is a fat 1/8. All right, and at the top it says a fat 1/8 is 9 by 21. All you sewers probably already know all those dimensions. I don't. All right, and then F17 is that same one, but it's on a kind of a grayish mint. I don't know how you describe this one. Gray, mint, teal type of color. All right, so that's why I was saying a lot of these are very similar, so I'm just pointing out each one for you. So that's F17, and it is a fat 16th. All right, and then the same one, but on yellow. Okay, this one also is a fat 16th. This is F18, and it's that same flowers, yellow on yellow for this one. And just make sure to keep them in order. It really makes it easier, in my opinion. All right, this one is that same flower design, and it is a very light gray. It looks like a very light gray on white fabric. Can you see? Bring it, I'm not sure how to show you. Those same flowers as the yellow and the pink and the dark teal. And this one is F19, and it's a fat eighth. Fat eighth. All right, and then we're on to F20. Now this one is, I don't know, a geometric design with green. All right, it's a white background with green shapes, a dark green. And this one is a fat quarter, and this is number F20. Okay, and then F21 is that same design, but it's with a gray. The shapes are gray, so it's still on a white background, but with a gray design. And that one is F21, and it's a fat eighth. Okay, different sizes. That helps to distinguish which ones are which. This one is in pink. It's that same design, the geometric design, F22, and this is a fat eighth. And it's the pink one. And F23, same thing, that yellow geometric. It's on a white design, but with yellow geometric design. And this one's F23, and it is a fat quarter. Okay, so a bigger piece of that one. And then we're on to stripes. Really cute stripes. It's almost like pinstripes, but I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, stripes. This one is gray with white stripes, and it is a fat eighth, and this is number F24. F24, a fat eighth. All right, and next is the red stripes. Same design, but on red. And this one is F25, and it is a fat eighth. All right. Now this is the one that I thought I didn't get because it was mixed up very tightly in another one. There are two parts of this. So this is that yellow stripe, but there's two of them. So one of them is a fat quarter. The larger one is the fat quarter, and that's number F26, the yellow stripes. And then that's the end of page 2. And page 3, this is that one that I thought I didn't get, and I do. It's a 1/4 yard of that same fabric. So this one's F27, and it's a 1/4 yard. We'll use this for our inner borders. All right. One other thing, did you notice, so when you print out, or if you print out your listing here, it's got all the SHQPF, PWS, ROE. I made a little note for myself of what those all are, just so that we can easily find them. So Happy Quilt is number 1. Number 2 is Running on Empty, and we'll probably do these in that order as well. Sewing is My Sunshine is SIMS. Playing with Scissors, PWS. Bamboo Hoops, that one took me a while to figure out what they were talking about with BH. It said BH, but it was hoops. Finally realized it's bamboo hoops. Pin Cushion is PC, and then Quilted Picture Frames is QPF. So there's a little call tag for each of these to make it easier. All right, so we are on page 3. We did that first one, which was F27. That was the yellow stripes in a 1/4 yard. So the next one is F28, and this one is a fat quarter, and it is blue with arrows. I call these arrows. I'm not sure if that's, I don't know what it's actually called, but navy blue with arrows on it and a fat quarter, and that's F28. Okay, keep these in order. And then that same design on pink, pretty. And this one is F29, and it's a fat eighth. All right, and then F30 is that same design, but on a mint color. Okay, and that one is F30, and it is a fat eighth. And F31, this is so pretty. I really like this one. So we just have a little piece of it, but it's really cute. It's little flowers, like blue and minty color flowers on it. And this one is F31, and it's a fat 16th, small little piece. All right, and then that same design but with yellow and pink flowers, very pretty. And this one is a fat 16th as well, and it's F32. F32. All right, and F33 is the green starburst is what I want to call it. I'm not sure why, but it looks like little starbursts on it to me. So this is the green one, and this is F33, and it is a fat quarter. And you can see this one has all those little call tags on it. So see, like SH, which I don't remember now. Don't have my list right here. There it is. So Happy. So we'll use that one on So Happy, and what was the R? Running on Empty, and PWS, Playing with Scissors. Pretty cute how they did all the little call tags for them. All right, so that's the green one. That is F33, a fat quarter. And then that same starburst, I'm making up my own names. I'm calling this the starburst. This is F34, and it's a fat quarter, and it is gray with the white starburst on it. All right, and then F35 is the blue one. So that same design, it's on white with blue starburst on it. And this one is F35, a fat 1/8 of this one. And then the next one is the red. So on red with those little starbursts. And this one is a fat quarter. This is F36. F36 at the bottom on page 3. And then there's two of these that look very similar, but one has blue dots and one has red dots. They're not just red though. Blue with various shades of blue dots, and then red, and there are a couple of little grayish blue dots on there as well. So there are two of these. The first one is the blue dots, and this one is a fat 1/8, and this one is F37. All right, and then F38 is the last one on page 3 with the red dots, white with little red dots on it. All right, and that's also a fat 1/8. And then the last page just has a couple. So the yellow, golden yellow silky solid, this is a fat 1/8, and this is F39. And then F40 is the taffy color. It's coral pink, but it matches the taffy thread. So coral pink, silky solid, a fat 16th, and then it's F40. And the last one is the olive green, sage green, silky solid. And this is a fat 16th, and it's F41, and that's the last one. So that is all of the fabrics that are in the kit. And if you keep them in order, I think it's easier in my opinion. So what I would do is I start from the top, take the first one, put my Fusible stabilizer on it, cut it to the sizes that are listed in the directions, and then I put them in my packets that I've already made, that I showed you my packets. All right, and I'm doing all eight projects together in my little packets. That will make it easy for me. And don't forget, like I mentioned earlier, there is a cutting guide, and the cutting guide just makes it so that you'll get full use out of your fabric. So this is on page 4 and 5 and probably 6. Yep, and 6. So 4, 5, and 6 all has cutting directions, and the way that they have it is, you'll see it's just the long way, and then it'll tell you how to get full use out of that fabric. So at this point, I am going to check and make sure everything should be stabilized. If there's binding on some of them, I don't want to stabilize those, so I'm not just going to go through and stabilize them all. I'm going to check first and see which ones that I don't want stabilized. Anything that is chenille, I don't think there's any chenille on these projects, but any chenille you would definitely not want to stabilize, and I don't like to stabilize the binding, and I also don't like to stabilize the backing, although some people do. So that's a personal preference for sure, but I'm going to go through and determine what each thing is for, and I'll write a little note, don't stabilize. The other thing, when I'm cutting, right now I'm just prepping, But when I start cutting, I always cut my border, like filler blocks, a 1/2 inch larger. I really recommend that. But if you've already cut, don't worry about that. We've talked about that in every prep video, that you can do it either way. It will work fine. If you do make it a little bit larger, what happens is that when we do our placement and tack down stitches on before we quilt it, it makes it so it will grab that. It will tack it down. Whereas if you can't do that, like if you cut it, say it's a 2 by 2.5 by 2.5 border piece, if you don't make it 3 by 3 like I do, you would still just put it down and then tape it in place. Whereas if I do it 3 by 3, it's going to tack it down, and then when I trim, I just trim right on those lines. If I've stabilized it well, that works really well. So that's one thing. I recommend that on every prep video. I always say, if I were you, I would cut the border pieces or filler blocks, whatever they're called, a 1/2 inch larger. The other thing is the borders, the actual borders, inner borders and outer borders. I always cut those larger too. And I've talked about that in every video, that I like to have it larger just to make sure that it will fill the amount of space that I want. And then at assembly, when I sew them on, then I cut them down. So that's what I do. And I'll go over more of that as we get going, but I just wanted to bring up a couple little tips that I remember as I go. Hey everyone, so I mentioned not to stabilize the backing and the binding, and then I'm going to cut my filler blocks a 1/2 inch larger. There's one other thing. So I went through literally every single page and I wrote little notes. So one thing is on page 3 of the guide that's in the PDF on the CD. There is F36, the little red one with those starbursts is what I'm calling them. The very first item is sewing machine fabric square 2.5 by 2.5. I'm not going to stabilize that. That's the little piece of fabric that hangs off of the sewing machine. I think that would look cuter not stabilized, in my opinion. So that's one small one. F36 on page 3, the red, and it's the first item. All right, it's time to just put on a good movie and get All right, so now it's time to just put on a good movie and get embroidering, All right, so it's time to just get, All right, so it is time to just put on a good movie and get doing the ironing and the cutting. You ready? Or, I don't know, this couch looks awfully comfy. Nope, get to work. Hey everyone, so I want to point out one important fact. So some of the fabrics are directional fabrics. So it might not seem like all that big of a deal, but notice horizontal lines, right? Horizontal lines. All right, so these two, you can see that they're going, once you lay them down on an applique fabric, you can see that they're going to be different, right? If they're one way versus the other way. So it's really important that you use that cutting guide that's on page 5. Actually, there's several of them, but this is the one I'm on right now. So right here, you can see it says it's a directional fabric, and it's showing you that if you lay it down lengthwise this way, with the lines going horizontally, and you cut them this way, then you'll have your fabrics going the direction that they intend in the booklet when we do our appliques. This is your quilt. You can do it your way, but I just want to point out that this cutting guide is really helpful. There are quite a few directional fabrics, and again, it may not seem like that big of a deal until you get it down on an applique, and then you're going to be like, oh, so you can see that I cut this one first, and I thought, well, I can use extra fabric, I can save it if I cut on this little part over here, and I cut it, and then I went, oh, but wait, this is a directional fabric, so then I had to redo it and cut it in the direction that they intended. So just want to point that out for you, your quilt your way, but don't forget that there are directional fabrics, and there is a cutting guide that makes it really easy to know which way to cut the fabrics and get the most out of your fabrics. Hey everyone, so I finished prepping Oh So Delightful. I did all 8 projects. You can see my little packets here. So couple things. You can do all 8 of the projects like I did, or you can just start with the quilt. We're going to start with the quilt, so whatever works for you. I use these packets. I highly recommend the packets, and if you do purchase them, please use my affiliate link. I used 41 packets. I changed it from earlier. I think I had 43 and I changed it a little bit. So 41 packets worked great, and that's for everything. So that's all 8 projects that are prepped and ready. I actually ran out of batting, so I have to go get some batting and then officially finish. But they are ready. They are all prepped and in order. I went through the booklet like extensively and wrote out little comments of things to point out. I also created a batting sheet. I actually created one for the first, I think, 4 or 5 projects, probably 4. So that you have all the batting cuts. The ending ones didn't have batting, like the hoops and the pin cushions and the dimensional picture frames, quilted picture frames. So probably 5 projects then. So I created all of that. I will add it in the comments in our Facebook group in Cristin Creates. So make sure to join Cristin Creates on Facebook if you haven't already. That's where I can share the actual like PDFs and JPEGs of different documents. I can't do that on YouTube. I will certainly add them in this video so that you can do a screenshot. But if you want the actual PDF or JPEG, the easiest is to go into our group and you can download them and use them as your reference for when you're prepping. So here's the deal. I need to know when you're done prepping and when you're ready for playtime. I'm basically done. I have to finish up the batting, but other than that, I'm done and ready. So I'm going to wait for you. It took me 3 very, very, very full days, like very full days. Hopefully it won't take you quite as long because you've got all the information at your fingertips now. But it took me, like I did 2 days that were each 11.5 hours and another day that was 7 hours. So it took a lot of time, and that was really just all I did was put on a movie and prep my fabrics and cut and organize them all and plan a little bit of our project. But for the most part, it was a lot of time of cutting. So just be warned, it does take some time. So let me know when you're ready. That's the big thing, is I need to know when you're ready for us to begin on our group project. Don't forget that I said that you need to come up with a goal for your project. I will always ask at the end of every project or at the end of every tutorial, I will say, here's what I did toward my goal. How are you doing with your goal? And I really want to hear it. I think it's really important that we work on goals and always being our best selves. Excuse me. So my goal for this one is, what was it? So my goal for this project is good vibes only, and coming up with things every day to be thankful for, things that I see that makes me smile. So I had a few comments today in the Facebook group and on YouTube that were just so nice, like seriously made my day, absolutely made me so happy. And then I took my dog for a walk before it started snowing. Oh my gosh, it's snowing hard right now. But I took my dog for a walk this morning and we walked underneath this huge tree, and all all these birds went flying out, and it was just the coolest thing. It totally just made me happy. I really enjoyed seeing that. So that's my goal. My goal is to find little things that bring me joy, that make me happy, things that make me smile. So I want to hear what your goal is. It can be organizing your craft space, which I actually need to do right now, but I'm working on it. But also working out, getting exercise, eating healthy, finishing old projects that haven't been done. I need to do that too. I think I just need all the goals. But anyway, I want to hear what your goal is and how you're doing with it. And my shirt today is my gnome shirt. It's a little Christmassy because of the gingerbread, but I love gingerbread all year round, so I don't really consider it to be Christmassy, but it's a really fun design. I got it from an Etsy shop. I will add information underneath this video. The shirt is a hoodie from my local Fred Meyer that I got at least a year ago, probably. But just a super cute design. And this Etsy seller has a really cute gnome one with, I think it was probably a gnome leprechaun, but it had clovers and stuff for St. Patrick's Day. So that's on my wish list to make if I happen to have some time on my hands.